Right, let's get started. Greetings, everyone. I, Uttam Kumar, Partner Development Manager at Datagaps, welcome you all to this joint session on New York University's Data Quality Management Journey, a story of strengthening data accuracy and trust across one of the most complex educational and research environments. Over 6 years, New York University has transformed its approach using Datagaps DataOps suite, achieving intelligent automation, scalable validity, and faster releases. This session showcases their real-world experience with ETL upgrades, migration, and the measurable impact of end-to-end data assurance. We are privileged to have two distinguished professionals from New York University. Sreelatha Nayar is a senior database engineer and project lead, focusing on Snowflake development and modernizing legacy ETL processes. She has leveraged data gaps for automated validation across cloud and on-prem pipelines. Joining her is Kasturi Sain from the Data Architecture and Integration Services Group. With over 25 years of experience, she has been instrumental in developing New York University's enterprise data governance and quality strategies. Throughout the session, I request all the attendees to please feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A section and participate in the live polls published during the discussion to share your perspective. With that, please welcome Sreelatha Nayar and Kasturi Sain on the stage. Ma'am, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Uttam, for the nice introduction. Good morning, good evening, and a warm welcome to all of you. I'll be talking mainly about our journey with data gaps for the last 6 years. I'll straight away dive into the agenda. We'll be talking about NYU's data ecosystem, the challenges we faced during the data testing, why we chose data gaps, our 6 years journey with data gaps, some of the intelligent automation using this tool, architectural overview of ETL data validator, and some of the use cases that we have used during our migration process, and the results and the impact of how we encountered using this tool, the data validation reports that we have been generating, and the business impact of data gaps once we adopted this, and a few takeaways from this session and where we look forward, what we look forward with using this data gaps tool in the near future. Next slide, please. Now, when we talk about NYU's data ecosystem, there's a few things that we want to talk about. One, primarily about the data. We all know how important data is in any of the organization, not just in NYU, but in any sector, whether it's in banking or in public sector or in a research organization. So coming back to how we are using in our organization, we give much importance to data like any other organization. Next is the challenges that we have faced during the ETL upgrades and the data migration. We primarily use Oracle initially, in our legacy system, we had Oracle as a database, and we have DataStage as an ETL tool. And then eventually, in the last few years, we moved over to a cloud-based environment, and that's how we use Data Gaps tool during the migration process. So we primarily use this tool mostly in the upgrade as well as in the migration. Then we had also diverse data landscape across the academic, financial research, and the HR system. Like any other organization where there are multiple areas, it could be HR, it could be sales, it could be finance. Likewise, in NYU also, we have different departments. And everywhere, data is one of the prime thing. Now, in our current setup, we have a mix of on-prem as well as cloud databases. To name a few, SQL Server, Oracle, and Snowflake. Now, we all know how data drives the decision-making across departments, because based upon how our data looks is how our final goals, our KPI, everything resides. Now, we also have to make sure that the data that we are using is trustworthy. At the same time, it's been validated and it's also been consistent. Next slide, please. Now, when we talk about anything about upgrades or migration, the first thing that comes to our mind is about the challenges with the data testing, because constantly we have to be on top of our data and making sure that the data is completely correct. So the challenges we faced during the data testing was, one is like years ago, like when we did the manual data testing, we all knew like it's very time consuming and at the same time it's error prone. Also, there is inconsistency the way that data is being validated. If there are multiple teams within an organization, every team chose to do the validate the data. If it's a manual process, validate the data in a different way. This leads to like high risk during, especially during ETL migrations and also during the analytics rollouts. Now, it's very hard to validate large data sets. That's another challenge that we're facing. As the data grows day by day, obviously it becomes difficult for us to validate, make sure that the large data set is consistent and at the same time is correct across multiple systems. We also have challenges when we have data using transformation logics, especially when there's large calculations or where there is large functions like sum or average, any such things. That becomes cumbersome for us when doing the testing, especially with the manual testing. The next thing is lack of auditability and repeatability. For instance, if we go with a manual testing, if you have to retest the same sort of data in a different setup, it becomes difficult for us. Say from one department to another department, if we have to keep testing the data, it becomes a repeatable process, but manual testing is very time consuming in that. At the same time, we don't have an auditability. We have everything is being manual driven. So we have to maintain documents and everything to show when it comes to auditing how the data is being validated. Next slide, please. Now, we'll talk about touch base on a few things like why did we choose Datagaps? There's a few reasons like why we chose Datagaps. One is like when we saw the tool, we saw like it does an end-to-end data validation. And at the same time, everything is being automated with this tool. The tool has the capability to work across multiple databases. And here we are focused primarily with Oracle SQL Server and Snowflake. The tool also has a feature of inbuilt reporting, scheduling, and at the same time, audit-ready results. When we say about reporting, the tool gives us like reports from different areas, which we'll touch base later on. Scheduling is something like we need it on a daily basis or on a monthly basis or on a weekly basis based upon our requirement. This tool has the flexibility to do that as well. And obviously with these reports, it becomes a lot more easier for us during the auditing purpose. Then next is when we talk about the enabled governance and continuous testing culture. Security is one of the main things which every organization emphasizes on. And at the same time, we have to make sure that we follow the compliance and everything. So that's something the tool takes care of. Datagaps, in a nutshell, is a comprehensive suite of data testing automation solutions that ensures 100% data quality and reliability. Next slide, please. Now, coming back, as Uttam mentioned, we have been using this tool for the last 6 years. So the first 2 years, primarily our focus was on, in a small scale basis, we just started off working on the proof of concept, trying to use this tool in a small data set, testing, making sure from start to end how the tool performs, like is it giving us the valid results and everything. The next 2 years, we started using the client version of the tool. And that was when NYU went through a process where we had to upgrade our Oracle database from an older version to version 19. And at the same time, our ETL which was data stage, we upgraded to 11.5 version. So one of the main requirements that came from the leadership was how do we make sure that if we do an ETL and a database upgrade, that the data, once it has been upgraded, is consistent and we are none of the data is being dropped, or there is no issue with the data types or any discrepancy basically. Then last 2 years, we went into a little more advanced way where we had to upgrade our entire on-prem database. We migrated to a cloud-based environment. So it was more like a modernization project. In here, we did an intelligent automation and dashboard integration. We adopted the web version, which has got a lot of additional features. And we created multiple workflows, pipelines, which constitutes of multiple workflows. Overall, it was about 1,000 plus data flows that we had connecting to multiple sources. To name a few, we had Oracle, SQL Server, API, CSV files, Snowflake as our destination, and also Postgres database. Through this tool, we had daily reports which was being generated using Python script, in which people were notified how the overall data was looking on from the existing Oracle environment versus compared to the Snowflake environment. It was more like a summarized report where users got notified where there is an inconsistency, that step was failed. So as a proactive way, developers were able to check it out, where the differences were, and was able to fix it. Next slide, please. Now, to cover a few intelligent automation that we were able to do using Datagaps tool, the first one was the automated testing, which has been executed within the Datagaps using its integrated data flows and the pipeline architecture. We all know, within this tool, when we use the ETL validator tool, the key feature of this is once you define the source and the destination connections, we build the data flows, and then we create the pipelines which call different data flows if we have to go for the scheduling purpose. Next is we had the rule-based validation across multiple data sources, which includes the schema and the metadata comparison. So apart from just checking the data also, the tool also has a capability to do the metadata comparisons. Datagaps also supports the automated job scheduling and the alerting mechanism for proactive data validation and monitoring. As I said earlier, the tool has the inbuilt feature of scheduling it. It also has the feature of emailing the users who are involved in monitoring the data. So it provides a report of where the differences exist, what percentage of data shows as different, and what's the best way that the data can be rectified. Thus, reducing the manual testing by 80 to 90%, resulting in data completeness and accuracy validation, because that's our ultimate goal is. Datagaps also facilitates comprehensive reporting of data validation results. Next slide, please. Now I'll just cover a brief overview of how the ETL data validator, the architecture of how it exists. Primarily, the first thing is that Datagaps consists of multiple components, and ETL data validator is one of those. It also has the BI validator and a few other components in that. So here we'll touch base mostly on the data validator. So when we talk about data validator, the first thing is we have to define between what environments we want to do the data comparison. So we just, in our existing setup, we had Oracle as the source. Our target was the Snowflake environment on a cloud-based. So once we define the source and the target, then we create data flows with these two connections. In the data flows, from there, we define the mapping. Now, when we say mapping, it's basically the columns existing on the source with the columns on the target environment. We define the unique keys once we identify in the database what are the fields that we need to choose to make a table unique. So once the mapping in the mapping, we define the key fields. And once that has been done, we also make sure the transformations and everything is consistent. When we execute this particular data flow, that's when we get on the UI, on the UI of the data gaps, we see the results of how the data exists between the two environments. Next slide, please. Now, a few use cases that I just want to cover up over here. In the current setup that we have over here, it's primarily a data warehouse where we have staging tables, obviously, and then we have dimension tables, which kind of leads to fact tables. Staging and dimension is pretty straightforward when it comes to comparison and everything, because key fields defined, they have the uniqueness, and once we define the key field, and it becomes easier for us to do the comparison. But when it comes to the fact table, we had to write like some complex SQLs because we had to join it with all the corresponding dimensions which build the fact tables. So that was one of the things that we worked a lot during our modernization process. Next, we also had MD5 functions, which we used when we migrated to Snowflake. There we defined key fields within the MD5 functions and compare between both the source and the target environment to make sure the data, like whatever is coming out of data gaps, the report is consistent. And if there is any difference, it was easier for us to identify why the difference was. Next slide, please. The UI, as I've been earlier also I mentioned, like the reporting that's been generated from Datagaps tool. This on the UI, we see the results and it's pretty user friendly. We also see like the diagram representation shows like what is the source environment, what is the second data set, which is the target environment. It gives a report at a very granular level where we can see the percentage of the match records, what percentage of data doesn't match, and then on the source environment, what is the additional fields or additional records, sorry, and on the target environment, also what are the extra records. If there's any duplicates existing on both the environments, it gives that details as well. The best part was that helped us during our process was the column-wise mismatches, because then it was easier for us to focus on which was the field which was having the maximum discrepancy. So at a code level, it was easy for us to identify, seeing this report, to see like this particular what has to be corrected to get the data 100% match. Next slide, please. Data validation report is another report which we generated using Python script, which connects to Datagaps, and we were able to send an email to the leadership team and as well as to the ETL team showing like how the data looks when the data flows are being executed using this tool. Next slide, please. The business impact of Datagaps adoption, obviously, it's helped us a lot. It reduced the manual testing by 80 to 90%. After the post-deployment, after migration, as well as after the upgrade, we didn't have to go through any data issues. It was probably about 5 to 10%. We had automated ready reports. We also achieved about 98.5% of data accuracy across tables that have been migrated. It strengthened the NYU's data governance and operational efficiency. And also there was measurable improvements in data quality and decision-making capabilities. Next slide, please. Few takeaways that we have from here: implementing Datagaps definitely has significantly improved our data validation process, ensuring cleaner data and more reliable data. It has reduced our manual data errors, accelerated compliance checks, and enhanced trust in our reporting. It has empowered our team from a reactive data correction to a proactive data governance. The automation and scalability of data gaps streamlined our validation workflows, saving time and reducing risk. It obviously has elevated our data quality standards, supporting better decision making and institutional accountability. Next slide, please. Few takeaway what we are looking forward in the next few years. NYU to adopt AI-driven data quality insights, enabling scalable validation workflows, also advance analytics and expand the automation in data quality checks and in many more departments within NYU. Next slide, please. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Kasturi, as you already know. I have been with NYU for more than 12 years, and past 2 years, I have been involved in developing NYU's data quality strategy, and not only developing the strategy, developing the implementation process as well. The next slide, please. So what I'm going to talk about is a little bit about NYU's data quality strategy and what kind of framework we are using, and few examples of data quality challenges that we face, and currently how we are dealing with the data quality issues, and going forward how we will be doing this the improved way, and actual data quality process flow, and then what we have accomplished so far, and all the implementation steps, then benefits and challenges. Next slide, please. So data quality is one of the key initiatives in NYU's data strategy. When we think about data quality, we always think that we have to look at the data column in the table and apply some rules and measure the pass, how many passed, how many failed, and then we remediate and be done with it. But here at NYU, we extended the definition of the data quality a bit. Before we delve deeper into the data, we want to know what this data is all about. Do we have a clear business definition of the data? Do we know where the data is coming from, where it's going? How many policies are attached to the data? What kind of data classifications are attached to the data? So complete lineage from end to end, we need to establish. And then we want to look at the data, to look at the values, whether they conform to the business rules. So entire data quality landscape includes 5 components. One is, can we go to the next? No, go back, something. Okay. So what happens is we have the business glossaries. Yeah, stay here, please. Thank you. Business glossaries to have clear definition, enterprise metadata for university across access, and data lineage for data relationships, and the governance workflow for the data quality rules guided by defined framework, and of course, automated monitoring and alerts. Next slide, please. So what kind of framework we use? We did not invent this framework. It's out there. Everybody does it. So we define the data rules, defined how we want to measure the data quality. Then we assess, then we remediate, means correct the data, then we monitor. So it's an iterative process that goes on. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. So few examples of data quality challenges. I'm going to talk about. So in at NYU, different affiliates, like when I say affiliates means you are a student, you are employee, you are a consultant, so different types of affiliations to NYU. And for that, every single person is assigned an identity card, NYU identity card. And depending on the affiliation, you will have different types of identity cards. Many times we have seen the student graduated or the employee left NYU, still they have assigned active business identity card. Why? Because the status in the source system was not updated properly. In some cases, we have seen that same record, same person sitting in two different systems, say student employee. A student employee will be in the student information system and also in the employee management system. And if you see the common data elements, there is a mismatch most of the time. Like budgets coming from a different system, when it's posted in ledger, it's different. Another example we have seen that we don't have a very clear definition of the key measures like student headcount, employee headcount. Nobody defined it properly how to get current student headcount. So what happens is each system creates those and calculates it differently. When we want to reconcile them, there is a problem. So I can go on with slew of problems like faculties, they don't get to the resources, library resources because the entitlements are managed by another system where they are not really properly updating the entitlement status. So these are the challenges we see. Next slide, please. So one issue that I encountered, all the issues that I'm talking about, I encountered as a data warehouse developer. This issue was very interesting. This is not isolated case, but I wanted to record this information. Once there were like 100 records, did not make it to the data warehouse because there was a problem with a special character in one of the name fields. So 100 records didn't make it to the data warehouse. As a result, there are faculties, you can see the number of faculties that did not get into the system. So they could not get the library resources. Some students could not log in to the classes. Some students were denied gym access, and employees couldn't even get into the building because the cards didn't work. So imagine each analyst for each system, they had to look at the issue, they had to inform their corresponding developers. Developers started researching the issue, all the things that downtime, resolution time, resource time, everything because of one single issue. And the new process, we will be able to catch that problem right away and then fix it before even user gets into it. Next slide, please. So currently the way we deal with the problems, it's the same thing that we do it in silo, in a reactive mode. Users complain, developers look at the issues, and then they have the rules in their mind, in their head, and they put it in the code, and they fix the issue, let the user know. But going forward, there is a streamlined process, is much more streamlined. So the issues will be caught before even users get into it. Monitoring will be taking place. Rules are going to be transparent. Everything will be out there so that people know what's happening. There is nothing in silo. So what happens, the benefits, we will be improving trust, the users. Many times I go to these different meetings and I hear this data is so messed up. The business point of view, the business users are complaining. So that we need to improve because of this data quality process, if we can implement it properly. So next slide. So how do we do it? We have talked about the strategy and 5 components, but we don't have a single tool that can actually satisfy all those 5 components. that fits the strategy. But we do have a tool called Calibra for data governance. We do have Datagaps for it. It has a robust data quality monitoring process. And we have data virtuality for controlled access to the data. So we decided, why not we combine these three, create an integrated process to do the data quality flow. So how do we do it? The data custodian goes to Calibra, creates the rule, data quality rule, and Calibra workflow goes through Calibra workflow takes the rule, goes to the proper data steward for approval. So the approval is done through Calibra workflow, and then all approved rules come to Datagaps. We have created an integration between Calibra and Datagaps using Calibra's API, and then the Datagaps executes all the rules. All the error reports, error records go to Postgres database. And also from Datagaps, this integration process posts all the scores, data quality scores in Calibra. And once the Postgres tables are populated with errors, data virtuality, it's pulled into data virtuality, and users can access the errors through data virtuality. And then they do the remediation part. Next slide, please. So what we have accomplished, there is an institutional research team at NYU sends census reports 4 times a year. After each end of each academic term, they create the census report. And before creating the census report, it goes like 15 days before that, they start the data validation, because those reports have to go to the external organizations. So every single time, 4 times a year, they have the rules in Google spreadsheet, and they create the Tableau workbook, Tableau dashboards, and then remediation starts from there, and then the reports are sent out. So they actually approached us. They asked us, can we use the process that you have? So we worked very closely with them, and there are 64 data quality rules we have documented in Calibra. Those rules came into Datagaps. So 64 error tables were created in Postgres, and all those from those 64 error tables, the views were created in data virtuality. Now users can go straight to the data virtuality and pull those error reports through the views. And also the data quality scores were posted in Calibra. Next slide, please. So just to show you how it looks in Calibra, the rules, you can have plain text rules in Calibra. So, and you have also the proper owner of the rule, who is approving the rule, who is the data custodian creating the rule. Everything is documented in Calibra. Next slide, please. And this is the Datagaps where the whole thing is happening, this integration. Each data flow, it's performing the task. It's bringing in the rules from Calibra, then running the rule execution is happening within Datagaps, and then it's posting back to Calibra and also creating the error reports. Next slide, please. So this is the lineage that I was talking about. So one single rule, like ACAT plan code, that is the column. We are using that column to have all the rules. So on your right side, you will see the rules and the scores. And then the left side, you will see the business term and definition. It's attached to the entity. Everything is in Calibra. Next slide, please. And in data virtuality, you can see all the views that are created. Now users can go in, click of a button, they can download from the view to CSV, or they can even look at online. Next slide, please. So benefits. Of course, it's enhanced data quality, because Datagaps is a robust data quality monitoring tool. execution tool, execution and monitoring both. So we are using that, and we have streamlined the whole process. So definitely the data quality is improved. The results also are more accurate, and improved data governance, because the rules are not in anybody's head or in Google Sheet. It's all in Calibra with proper ownership. And we have the lineage defined, the scores, everything is defined in Calibra. And the access, modernized access to data virtuality has all the data for the data access and also controls. Only authorized users can look at the error reports, not everybody can. But the best part of this is data quality is not an IT initiative. It has to come from business. In this case, the business approached us. They worked with us to establish this process. So that's a big win for us, I'll say. Next slide, please. So challenges, of course, status quo. Nobody wants to get out of their comfort zone to try something new. If it is not broken, don't fix it. And sometimes we find that unclear ownership. Because if we have a problem in the data warehouse, the data, send it to the source system, they will take a very long time to fix it because no one is really assigned. So that is one problem. Another problem I see is calculation of ROI, which is you really have to have a dedicated resource to see the before and after image, and you have to run it, do the trending to find out exactly how much savings you are making. And that's where I find that nobody is responsible for doing that. And another thing is our current process that we have created, the integrated process, it also needs some manual effort. We have to manually create the rules in Calibra. First time, we have to go to Datagaps, manually add all the SQL codes. And then when we create the error tables, the tables are a bit cryptic. So, and for you creating those user-friendly views, you have to do one-time setup, but you have to do it. And for any new rule, you have to go through the same process. So I have been reading up on Datagaps, AI-driven data quality management process. So they're a great partner, Datagaps, and I love working with them. And I'm thinking that I will be working more with them to incorporate some AI components so that you can automate it further. And also, if I don't use AI, we will soon be outdated also. Next slide, please. So just to recap, data quality is one of the key initiatives. And yes, we want to facilitate data understanding, more data understanding, automating data monitoring, and embracing a model for continuous improvement. We talked about successful implementation of the census reporting process and talked about the benefits and challenges. And lastly, I want to say that the failure is when we treat data quality management process as a project with a start and end date. It is a program. It doesn't have any end date. And so that's the last thing I want to say, and it's a very important thing. And that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Have any questions?
Thanks, Sreelatha, and thanks, Kasturi. Due to the paucity of time, we'll just take one question and request you to answer that quickly. So the question is, which KPI is most sensitive to data quality issues, and how do you protect it? Just very briefly, if you can say, because we need to wrap it up now.
Data quality, say that again one more time.
Which KPI is most sensitive to data quality issues, and how do you protect it?
I will say completeness is one of them, with which we find it's the null values, or no, completeness is not always null values. Sometimes the record is not complete because of multiple issues. So completeness is, and how to mitigate. There is no other way. I mean, one way, the way we are doing it today is fixing the data with a null, replacing with something, or the best way is to go back to the source and tell them to fix it. Use the framework.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Sreelatha and Kasturi. We have a couple of more questions, but we'll be sending you offline so that you can respond to that, and then we'll share those with attendees. So with that, I'll wrap the session up. Thank you, Sreelatha and Kasturi, for such an insightful and detailed walkthrough of New York University's data quality journey. Your experiences provided a clear and practical view of how organizations can ensure accuracy, scalability, and trust during ETL modernization. A big thank as well to all our attendees for joining and engaging through polls and sharing thoughtful questions. We hope you found this session valuable and inspiring. Stay connected and enjoy rest of the Datagaps Tech Summit. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks Sreelatha and Kasturi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For further questions, feel free to reach contact@datagaps.com. Request a free demo, scan the QR code below. Thank you.